it's John for For Purpose. And today we're going to talk about politics. Every single day we've heard Trump's name in the news. I actually think that we have a record with the president's name being mentioned after office in Trump. The media has this eroticism with him, right? And actually, he exploits it. He exploits it because he knows that any time his name is mentioned, it's a good thing. I personally will admit that I don't care for the man. I don't care for Trump. I personally would like to have a leader that embodies my beliefs in the policies that they put forward, but that they do it also in a very humane and respectful way. And frankly, I don't agree with how he goes off insulting people, attacking people with different opinions. You know, we're all supposed to be adults. And part of being an adult is being able to sit down and talk with people and work through issues and talk about things that maybe we don't agree with, but it's okay, because at the end of the day, we get to understand each of our own perspectives a little bit better. Trump has always been a thug. Right, and I think that goes with him in real estate, New York. There's some lines of business that you have to be a bit tougher than other lines, but I really don't blame who he is or what he is. He is what he is, right? And unlike the media, I never expected him to be anything different when he came into office as president. I expected to see the same Trump. Trump is who Trump is. He's been that way for the last 30 years. When he ran in 2016, though, I did think that maybe this was somebody fresh, right? He started out as a Democrat and then became a Republican. Very similar to Ronald Reagan. And I liked Ronald Reagan. I believed a lot in what Ronald Reagan did for this country. And so I had high hopes that maybe Trump would have that same outlook and that same love and respect for the Constitution and for our country's democracy, that we would see a continuation of what was maybe in the Reagan years. I thought that he could become a good change agent, not a disruptor, right? I still believe that we need to have a change agent in Washington to weed out the corruption and to put us on the right path. I don't think Trump was that person. He didn't come anywhere close to it, in my opinion. Trump isn't the only one that's imperfect, right? Congress is littered with crooks and thieves on both sides of the aisle. They all treat us like we're walking ATMs, right? They use bumper sticker issues and slogans to take our attention away from the fact that they really aren't doing anything effective in the government. It's a tactic that they've used for years and years, and frankly, it's something that needs to stop. It also is on us because a lot of us have an attention span of maybe a Survivor episode or a Nat, right? I mean, if we're not following people and following the facts, not just what we're told, but following the facts, we probably wouldn't have the mess that we have today. This election for me is all about honesty and character, and in who those I want to be as a representative. So I'm not just talking about the presidential election, but also the Congress, right? The people in the House of Representatives and in the Senate. People that I want to have a sense of integrity and honesty with us, this what I call the stakeholders, but the taxpayers, right, as we move forward. I don't want to go back 8 years. I want to progress forward. I want new ideas. I want new ways of doing things. Not the shit show that we've had for the past 4 years with the House of Representatives. I also think that we need to be honest with ourselves with respect to Trump. All the news outlets and pundits talking him going to jail truly do not understand our legal system. Lady Justice, she may be blind, but her pockets are lined with gold and cash, okay? The system is rigged in a lot of respects, particularly against those with a limited income or who come from poor backgrounds versus those that are rich. And if you don't believe me, you can go out, you can research it, but let's just take a public defender, right? If you're poor, if you can't spend $1,000 an hour on a good defense attorney, you're going to have a public defender. And a public defender is going to have 20 to 30 clients that they're supporting. Now, compare that to an attorney that's representing Trump or whoever, right? OJ, whoever. They're only going to have one or two clients. And unlike the public defender, they've got a team of paralegals, they've got an IT department, they've got a number of resources that are available to them to get that person off. So mark my words, Mr. T ain't going nowhere. He ain't going to jail, and not going to happen. You heard it here first, maybe, I don't know. But I'm just saying, listen, I'm not saying what he did was right or wrong. I believe he's guilty as shit, just being honest, right? Whether we're talking about the classified documents case or paying a hooker $130,000 for a hand job, this guy, I think, was guilty of all of that. But I am the voice that's telling you he's never going to go to jail. It's just never going to happen, folks. There's no way that you would ever have a previous president end up in jail. Even if he were to be indicted, even if convicted, he's already indicted, but if he were convicted, he would get a pardon at some point. Okay, he's not going to go to jail for the rest of his life. And I know that what I'm saying is going to ruffle the feathers of all those that are truth seekers and the Justice League fanatics, but it's the ugly truth, right? Lady Justice just isn't what we hoped she'd be. And everything that we're talking about, it's good for the news cycle. It's great for the media's pockets, and that's why it just keeps going on and going on. And that's why we hear about it every single day, right? I do believe it's wrong for somebody to break the law and not be held accountable for it. So don't get me wrong. I believe that 100%. But it's just politics, power, and influence in our society. And for those of you, unless your world has purple skies and you've got unicorns on the hills, reality sucks sometimes. And it just does, right? It's not everything's fair for everybody type world. Doesn't happen. The ugly truth also is that when we talk about Trump and we talk about all the people, and that's the other thing that the media has, right, is that Trump has all these people that they feel they need to educate and they need to let them see the light, and that Trump's this terrible person and he shouldn't be president. And what the media doesn't realize is that people aren't following Trump because of his performance or maybe his political brilliance, okay? They're not following them even because they're Republicans. Hell, half of them probably can't even spell Republican, right? They're following him because these are people that believe in what he represents. These are people that have been pushed to the fringe of society for years. They're fed up of paying taxes, of being that class of people that's always having to bail out the rich and everything else. The majority of these people, I really do believe, are God-fearing people. They're good people. But Trump has found a crack, right? And he's tapped into this frustration that people are having, and that has opened the floodgates. This isn't about people, again, that they honestly understand or believe that everything that he did as president was good. They see in him that pressure valve to take their frustrations out on a system that they feel has been oppressing them for years. I know I'm talking a lot about Trump, but it's not all about Trump, right? While Joe Biden embodies some of the Christian values that I have and that I would want to have in a president, to be honest, he's just weak, right? We have Mr. Rogers in the situation. And with today's geopolitical issues bordering on World War III, we really need to have somebody who's firm, somebody that's going to have a strong image internationally, and we just don't have that today. And I also think from the Democratic Party, and as an independent, I've voted for both Democrat as well as Republican, but I do believe that the Democrats today are representing more 20% of the population than 80% of the population. It just seems that we're trying to solve issues for the fringe and things like paying off student loan debt, that we're helping a small percentage of people versus coming up with programs and policies that address the greater majority. Democracy is supposed to be a system of government whose power is vested in the majority of its people, not the fringes. And I think that that's what we're faced with on the Democratic side. So it's not the Magnas either, right? So it's not Magnas, it's not Antifas, it's middle lane America is what we should be solving problems for. Make no mistake, 2024 is shaping up to be the most pathetic presidential race in history. Regardless of who wins, the White House is about to become the most famous assisted care living facility. We have two very old men that are running for the position of president. It's sort of like Hollywood went and did a remake of Grumpy Old Men. Only these two are really grumpy old men, okay? And oh, by the way, spoiler alert, Secret Service, you're going to have to understand hospice as you move into the next election cycle. This election will do nothing to benefit us as a country. If Trump wins, we regress back 8 years, right? He goes into office. It's going to be a presidency of redemption, right? And he's going to do further attacks, retaliations. If he loses, we're going to continue to have political discourse. He's not going to go away quietly, right? And we're going to have another 4 years of discourse and complaining from Crybaby Don, okay? It's just going to happen. On the other side of the coin, Biden's declining mental state, multiple wars, political discourse, stress from the job. I don't know what that translates to, but I don't see it as a positive result 2 or 3 years into the presidency. No matter what, we are screwed, at least from the presidential perspective. We get darker and darker as a nation, and the partisan divide will grow. And it's because of that that I really think that this election is really more about the Congress and the congressional elections than it is the presidential. We've got Grandpa in the White House, and it doesn't matter if we're talking Biden or Trump. We got Grandpa in the White House. So what we need is some competent, rational people in the Congress. We've all watched the shit show over the past 4 years that have happened in the House of Representatives as they've driven their clown car throughout Washington and the swamp. But the one thing that there's actually 3 things that I think are very important about that. These things I think the media has missed out on. One, I think that the past 4 years and what we've seen in the House of Representatives proves that Trump is still in control. Honestly, it also should be a huge warning for us because that shit show with him in control is what we can expect as a president, right? And some of his policies and how he's going to run his administration another 4 years. Trump's also, with all these shenanigans and all this things that he's done in the court, set a precedent that this will now become the norm going forward. People are going to challenge every election. People are going to tie up the courts. It's never going to end. It's not just Republican, Democrat, Independent, whoever comes along the line, they're going to do the same thing. And finally, I think the last 4 years proved to me that stupidity is no longer a liability. You know, you can get a job as a congressman if you're stupid. You can, even if you only do 4 years. And I guess who's stupid, right? If you're a congressman and you only do 4 years, you're going to make more in a pension than I will have having worked my entire life. And that's sad. I mean, that's sad because it really should be based on performance. And clearly, I think we could maybe agree that government hasn't always given all of us what we would like it to have given us, right? So what do? I think we have to look at the Senate and House candidates really hard as we move forward. We need to have that balance, that insurance that the democracy will survive. Regardless of who the president is, we need to have this. We need to take the ballots that we get, the names that are on those ballots for both of the parties, and we need to spend just a few minutes on Google to try and better understand what their past has been, What were their accomplishments? What are the criticisms that people have had with that candidate? And I'm not talking Democrat or Republican. I'm talking everybody. We just need to do a better job this election cycle because it really depends on it. The stakes are way too high in this cycle for us to be sitting on the sideline. So you need to get off your ass and you need to get moving and do your research. Be diligent in the research that you do. Question what people are telling you. Honestly, share what you want to share with family and friends. The conversation around the congressional delegates is going to go a lot easier than the conversation would around the presidency. So listen, let's all just take some time this election cycle, do a little bit better job at understanding who it is that we're voting into. So thank you all for your time. This is John from For Purpose. Goodbye.